All right, let's get into a story that honestly feels like it was ripped straight out of a spy movie. We're talking high-tech espionage, a ghost in the machine, and one single event that completely changed the game up in the sky. This is the incredible story of the Ghost drone heist.
I mean, seriously, think about that question for a second. It's the kind of thing that sends absolute shockwaves through the entire intelligence world. One of America's most secret, most advanced pieces of technology just shows up on TV, being paraded around by Iran. Everyone was stunned. So, the big question is, how on earth did that happen? To really get this story, you first have to understand the main character. And in this case, it's not a person. It's the ghost. Our story kicks off when this very, very special aircraft just goes missing. So this wasn't just any old drone. This was the RQ-170 Sentinel, a top-of-the-line, bat-winged stealth drone flown by the CIA. Its whole job was to be completely invisible, flying deep into enemy territory to see things no one else could. They even nicknamed it the Beast of Kandahar. That tells you how legendary this thing was. And then, on December 4th, 2011, one of them, well, just vanished. Right in the middle of a mission, the operators suddenly lost the connection. It was gone. A multi-million-dollar piece of top-secret stealth technology had literally disappeared into thin air.
Almost immediately, two completely different stories about what happened started to pop up. And this is where the real mystery at the heart of this whole thing begins.
Okay, so on one hand, you have the official US version of events. The drone had a technical problem, a malfunction, and it crashed. Simple, unfortunate, but just an accident. But then you had the Iranian claim, which sounded way more dramatic. They said their cyber warfare unit electronically hijacked the drone, fed it fake GPS coordinates to trick it, and guided it to a gentle landing right where they wanted it.
So who do you believe? Well, the biggest clues seem to back up Iran's wild story. Because when they showed it to the world, it wasn't a smoldering pile of wreckage. It was sitting there, on a display stand, looking almost perfect. I mean, an aircraft doesn't just fall out of the sky from that high up and land with a few scratches.
And that right there was the question that was bouncing around intelligence agencies all over the world. Was this just a total fluke for Iran, a lucky break after a simple mechanical failure? Or had they actually pulled off one of the boldest acts of electronic warfare we've ever seen?
What happened next took this secret, behind-the-scenes incident and just blew it up into a massive global spectacle. This quiet little conflict was about to get very, very loud.
And things escalated so fast. I mean, look at this timeline. In just about a week, this thing went from being a classified military oops to a full-blown international showdown. The drone goes missing on the 4th, Iran claims it on the 5th, by the 8th it's on TV for everyone to see, and by the 12th, the President of the United States has to publicly talk about it. You know, that TV broadcast was a total checkmate move. It changed everything. Iran wasn't just showing off a war trophy. They were exposing one of America's biggest secrets to the entire world. The ghost was officially out of the bat. Now that everyone knew about the drone, the whole situation shifted. It went from a covert crisis to this really tense diplomatic standoff. So, the US made its move. President Obama went on the record with a formal request. It was simple, direct. We have asked for it back. Asking for their property to be returned. But Iran's response? It was just as direct and completely defiant. General Salami from the Revolutionary Guard basically said what everyone was thinking. You don't just return spy gear to the country that was using it to spy on you. And that was that. The answer was a definitive no. As far as Iran was concerned, that drone was now their property, and that was the end of that conversation. What's really interesting, though, is that back in the US, not everyone thought asking for it back was the right play. Former Vice President Dick Cheney argued that was a mistake. He said the right response should have been an immediate airstrike to destroy the drone and all its secrets before anyone could get their hands on them. But the drone wasn't destroyed, and its capture, well, that wasn't the end of its story. You could say it was just the beginning of its second, and maybe even more important, life. Iran got to work right away. This thing wasn't just going to sit in a museum. They started this meticulous process of reverse engineering. First, pull out every bit of data. Then, figure out how to copy its stealth design and materials. And finally, use all that new knowledge to build a whole new fleet of their own. See, for Iran, the Sentinel wasn't just a propaganda win. It was a technological blueprint basically handed to them. It gave them this massive shortcut, a leap forward in drone tech that probably would have taken them decades to figure out on their own.
And you could see the results pretty quickly. Before long, Iran started showing off a new generation of drones. You had the Shahed 171, the Simorgh, and they all had this familiar look to them. They didn't just study the ghost, they cloned.
And if anyone had any doubts about whether their copies actually worked, those doubts were erased in 2018. An Iranian Simorgh drone, a direct descendant of that captured RQ-170, was shot down by an Israeli F-16 after it flew into Israeli airspace. The clone technology was now a real, active threat on the battlefield.
The consequences of this one incident were just enormous. Losing one drone didn't just give away a secret, it armed a rival with some of your best technology. It started to chip away at this idea of American tech being untouchable. It basically spread high-end stealth drone technology across the world.
And it all leaves us with this pretty fascinating and maybe a little unsettling thought. The story of the RQ-170 revealed a secret that was flying right over our heads, completely unseen. It kind of makes you wonder, what other technological ghosts are silently soaring through the sky right now, just waiting to be discovered?